how does you go from literally self-pitching to the One Extra to actually you've got a record deal?
So I went there and I looked them in the face and I said, you want young black kids in here and we want the venue, so what do we do? They were like, go and buy Steph something. So I was like, she's not gonna want a piano or something, yeah. So I went to Louis Vuitton to buy a pair of shoes. So I just thought 500 quid, 600 quid. And I was just talking away. And then Ratty gave me a look and it went to the till and it was £2,000. And then that weekend, Skepta DM'd me and was like, what day should we do? And I was like, what? And then he goes, oh, 5 o'clock. So I was like, came out the train station 5:10 thinking they're gonna be late. He was already on the mic.
Welcome to the Hot Seat, a look behind the scenes of the characters that make things happen in the music business. Today we've got the incredible Zeon Richards, the executive, A&R and manager, someone who's been across incredible talent over the years. We're very honoured to have him. We're going to look into how he got to where he is and some of the character traits and some of the people that have made a difference in his career. Zeon, thank you for coming on, appreciate it. Can we start at the beginning and talk about how you got into the business and just what was your family dynamic growing up?
So I grew up in Tottenham, 7 sisters in a estate called Tiverton. I grew up with my mum in the same house, but my dad lived at the end of the road.
Okay.
And like even my grandparents lived maybe a road away, so always had like a consistent family around, and I've got like quite a kind of tight circle of friends. We were all like family.
Yeah.
So that, and I'm like the third sibling of having 2 older brothers, so I was always quite comfortable to take risks.
Are you the youngest?
Of the kids that my mum and my dad have, yes.
Okay.
So growing up, it's just quite normal. I always like kind of lead into like school, academia, but not, I always just saw like education as a way that maybe could give me a shot in life.
Okay.
So although I had like my circle of friends and we was all cool and we would see things, I knew it wasn't really for me, and I always felt like a lot more comfortable kind of in school with my school friends, or like I always kind of achieved. So when I was at school, I remember when you do the SATs and all the rest, I had to go get brought to like an awards ceremony in my borough for like one of the best SATs results across the borough.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember like Channel 5 had just started and one of the hosts that was presenting the awards, so I had that. And then when I started secondary school and I went in Tottenham, I was getting in like trouble and my mum moved me to Hertfordshire. Yeah. And I remember them, even then I like took a lot of my GCSEs a year early.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I took like English, maths and that a year early. So I had my like B's in English and maths like a year early. Not even like at the end of the year as well, like maybe in like February. In year 10 I already had like.
So academia was always something you were just naturally sort of good at?
Yeah, I think maybe just like my mind's always like quite inquisitive or whatever else.
And do you, and just culturally, were you African household, Caribbean household? What was the sort of culture growing up and what you were around?
Household.
Jamaican?
Yeah, although I grew up in a state with a lot of Ghanaians, but Jamaican household. My mum had come over when she was 14 years old, and she always would say like, you're a bit different, like you have to lean into this. So even when I went to college, there was a time when I applied for a job and I could have got a job which was paying like £14,000 a year, which was more than what she was getting. Yeah. And she is like adamant that I couldn't take that job because I had to be the first person in the family to go to university and all the rest. So yeah, it's interesting like looking back at like it, but she and like people around her saw things in me that I never even like saw as anything. I was always just like, oh, I've got to do this exam, I've got to do this, got to do whatever else. But she always wanted more for me.
And your dad, was he an integral part of growing up, or was you more like, I'm very similar. My mum was a sort of driving force in my life in terms of, and again, Caribbean, but was your dad around? Is he someone that influenced you growing up?
Yeah, it's a couple of things. And like, my dad lived a road away, but worked security, and I was always frustrated because he worked at the security at like a factory nearby, and he was there for like 15, 20 years, and I was always like, I'm never doing that. That's like, you live in our community, you're sitting there. My goal was, I'm going to work, and I'm going to have a suit and tie, and I'm going to work in the office, and that's going to be me, because I thought that was kind of the epitome of like
success,
right? Yeah. And But he's consistent. Every day he messages me like, "How you doing? Love you." If I need him, he's always there.
Yeah.
He's very like well respected. But I probably have a bit more fire in my belly, like in terms of wanting to shake things up, in terms of like seeing the possibilities that exist, because I don't ever want to.
So you saw your dad working in a real steady sort of role.
Security all the way.
Yeah, but it was steady. It was
my
like
dad
guaranteed.
My eldest brother has followed the same path,
Yeah.
and whatever else. And I feel like my mum's probably got a lot more capabilities, but just by virtue of like that time in life and all the rest, never got to see that out.
Yeah.
But by virtue of like our conversations and how she is like now, she could tell me about what's happening in the business and who's doing this and whatever.
Really?
To this day, she knows.
Wow. So she's quite observant. She's constantly looking because of what you do.
Yeah, and she reads books and she knows what's going on with this, and we can have like light-hearted like discussions on this, on that, and whatever else. So I think I've got skills from both. Like skills from my dad in terms of like he's very kind-natured.
Yeah.
Never rubs anyone up the wrong way. He's consistent.
Yep.
Like
So you got that steady sort of.
My mum's like got a very kind of balanced outlook upon life, so she doesn't have to agree with someone. She's like very like diplomatic, and like if there's a rift between me and my siblings, and my mum's really short, she might be like 5 foot. We all have to call her first to like rationale what's going to happen before we could do it.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that I've learned that skills of her, which is like you can still have a kind of element of control without being forceful with it.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've noticed about you as well. Knowing you for as long as I have, I haven't come across anybody that speaks badly or vaguely negatively of you at all. And I think you've always had a really calming temperament around chaos, sort of thing. So that sort of speaks to that, which I think is really interesting. I think the influence our parents have on how we conduct ourselves is I think really fascinating. And with you being a second generation from the Caribbean sort of culture sort of thing, I think and seeing how your parents work so hard and sort of not wanting to do that and wanting to sort of really push on, I think it's really amazing.
I find
brave considering the business we're in.
I see it like when I used to go to Jamaica to where my mum's from. We're actually from like very much country where you got like shanty houses, outside toilets. I've got memories of like going to the well where the women would get the water and put the water on their head and then go to the shop and carry the bags. We would bath in the river.
Wow, you did this yourself as a kid? When you went over?
In Jamaica, yeah. You'd be walking down the country lane and a cow could just block the lane. So I very much like have vivid memories of that, and I understand that what we all do today is a blessing, it's a privilege.
Yeah.
So I don't take it for granted, because essentially what we do today is the reason why they emigrated here.
Yeah.
So
you're like the next generation and realising the sort of ambition of what the first generation had when they got here, sort of thing.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, so which brings me to sort of music, and what was your relationship like with music growing up? Was music in the house? How did you sort of pivot into sort of, so you've gone to college, you've gone to university. Did you study music at university?
No.
What did you do at uni?
Operation management and HR.
Wow, so you was okay. That's interesting. So so you talk about that.
So music was always kind of a constant throughout my household. So my mum had a big kind of like vinyl and CD collection. So I remember like when they first only had the album CDs, right?
Yeah.
And then she would would have from vinyl, she'd have like the Morgan Heritage and all the kind of reggae stuff.
Yeah.
And then from like a CD collection, it would be like Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Toni Braxton, Anita Baker. I think so. The main constant in my life was like fully structured songs, ballads.
Yeah.
But then my uncle that lived down the road, because my grandparents lived like 4 days apart, he was a DJ, so he would have the latest vinyl. So I remember like Biggie Smalls and Mary J. Blige. I remember like having the vinyls of like Fugees. I've got like Rakim. I've got all those vinyls.
All classic.
And he would take us out even as young kids to his DJ bookings. So he would carry us in his car and we would be there watching him DJ. I'll bring all my friends round like Retch for the rest, and my uncle was a cool uncle that was like mixing on vinyls or the rest. But like I remember like him coming and playing us like the Knight Rider sample on Busta Rhymes.
Oh wow!
Yeah, lived it. I had it all like Craig Mack. All that. Yeah, his education that taught me hip hop.
Yeah.
Like he taught me hip hop from bottom up. So I had like my mum who very much taught me like the reggae, Caribbean side, and then obviously the more balladly stuff. And my uncle was like taught me about like R&B, hip hop on that kind of new swing
Yeah.
era coming through. Yeah.
New swing, all the flat tops and sort of like baggy clothes and stuff like that.
Yeah, like all the vinyls. To this day, like to be honest, like there's been times when I've gone to meet someone and I'm like, oh damn, I should have bought that vinyl to get it signed for him because it's still in my grand's house there.
I imagine, considering what you're doing now, there must be so many opportunities for you to get signatures on classic music, which we'll get to. So you mentioned Wretch there. Sort of Wretch is one of your friends. So Wretch is obviously probably I think one of the most incredible rap artists to ever grace the UK, possibly the world, an incredible poet and just a lyricist beyond his years. Your relationship with Wretch is probably the longest management relationship I know of in the business to date. Even now, you still manage him. How did you become that dynamic? How did you start managing him? Tell me about that.
So we've always known each other. So we're from the same housing estate, and in amongst our friendship group, right? And then even our parents all started off in Broaddock Farm, and then they all got moved housing estate into our estate, and they all went to school together.
Okay.
So, but that's
so
no
generational.
Different. That's no different to any other of my friends. That's our community and how it works, right? And one of our friends, Callie, he said like let's all do music, and we were all dabbling on it, but Wretch wasn't. And then at one stage, one of our friends was like, "Look, he loves dancehall. Let's like go and speak to him," and kind of like coerced him into really pursuing music.
So you coerced Wretch into even caring about
not me, but one of the
your friends.
And what it showed me immediately is, whereas we would just have a radio show on Heat FM, and that's how I know a lot of the people, and just prepare for that. He became obsessed, and by obsessed I mean he would like write songs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs, and like we went and got a DAB and found one extra, and he studied the craft. And I said to him, and maybe this is one of my gifts is like instincts.
Yeah.
And we were working towards our mixtape that was taking long, and people were doing long. And I remember I would get paid and go and buy vinyls for the rest. And I was committed, but he was obsessed. Okay. And I said to him, once this mixtape comes out, I'm done with that. The focus has got to be you, because you showed me a level of commitment that you have to find a way to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about it from the perspective of me, because my thought was always, I would go through the education system, I would get a job, obviously inflation now, so it's going to sound weird, but I would get a job paying 20 grand a year. Yeah. You would become a musician and earn 20 grand a year, and like we've made it out. Like happy days. Yeah.
You got security, you can raise your family on this money, you'll be fine, sort of vibe.
Well, looking through the kind of rules we're looking at in like the housing estate and amongst it, that's like success, right?
Yeah.
And he would always say, "You're going to be my manager." He always said it from the start. And there was one time because when he started releasing music, I would study different DJs. What do they play? This, that. I set up email addresses for him, and I'd send them naively all a different track.
Okay.
But so I'd send every
DJ different songs, not one. Because normally in promo you sort of say one song and hope to God 2 of them play it and you'll get some momentum.
I didn't know about that. I sent every DJ like a different song. Okay. And they would play records. And in 1 year, One Extra gave him the most Street Heat Award for the most specialist played artists, because we had that much plays.
Wow. And that was I say strategic. It wasn't strategic, it was just that you didn't know any better.
He was obsessed with being in the studio, so he's like, oh yeah, I've got to make a song. I've heard him play a song like that, I'm going to make a song. And this, that, and we would just make songs. And then I had to learn the business, because then I would turn around and be like, hold on, if we've won this award, why aren't we getting playlisted? And I remember like Viz and Austin laughing, be like, you don't understand how this works. I'm like, oh, do we have to pay? And like, no, it's not about paying, you don't understand it works. So then I'll do research and like, okay, you got to get a press company, you got to get radio promo team, you got to get these things, and you got to have a video, you got to have a campaign, you got to have a timeline. And then we had to kind of go through that route of learning that side of the business.
So at what point does Wretch sort of, obviously you're managing him at this point, at what point do you get a record deal for him, and how do you even come about? I know obviously Twin was involved and a few other characters, but how does you go from literally self-pitching to One Extra to actually you've got a record deal and you've got songs that are moving?
At that point, the frustration is we're releasing projects and you're known, but the business as it stands at that point is you can't financially sustain yourself doing it. Or if you can do yourself, you definitely can't do me.
Yeah.
So we're going through the kind of run of the mill through that, and then someone from our estate, Bath, opened up a studio and was like, I've done
That's
this.
the legendary guy who managed Chipmunk.
There you go. So
Got
he's
it.
like, I've done this for you lot, because we hang around with your younger brother and we all know each other. I'm like, what are you doing that for? There's no money in music. Don't do that for us. Don't put that risk on our head. Do that for. And he goes, I'm going to do it anyway. So he does it, and all these kids start coming through the studio. It's that, because when you've got facilities, it's a hub for talent, right?
Yeah.
Chip, all the rest. So he has success, and I got to see it. I'd never seen success before.
Yeah.
I'd never been high street.
You got someone locally, you're in your community, moving through the gears.
But I've seen it because I'm there.
Yeah.
All those shows that you was at or whatever, I was there, but just kind of downloading information. Okay. Just like at the background there, like the shows before Chip was even signed in the youth clubs and all the rest. Yeah. I was always there. Leicester, all the way, I was there, and I knew everyone anyway from Pirate Radio, but I knew everyone from there, and I got to see the ascendancy of it and studied it. Like, just really studied it. And then I saw when Tiny was on tour with Chip, I was all there. And then I remember saying to Wretch, I remember Scorch got a deal, and I said, look, where I'm looking at the kind of trend of this market is I've had an entry into kind of hip hop and kind of more kind of commercial based stuff. Yeah. And then now, as it will happen with like Fresh Prince and all the rest, there's going to come an element of like people looking for something a bit more sophisticated. Yeah. At which point I see that you or Bashi are going to get an opportunity. Like, yeah, that's what I see. And then I said, but you can't come to meetings no more. The only way because I got a job as a buyer after uni, and
buy what? What?
Like, what that means is like I would buy for a distributor, and then I would decide, okay, we're going to buy 10,000 units of this, 20,000 units of this, and then we would distribute to Amazon. Yeah, it was like games and all the rest. Okay. And one day a supplier came to me, and they used to take me for lunch, and he just pitched, you're going to buy this amount, this is why you need it, come and put in a bigger order, Z, this, that. And I was all about analytics. Okay. And I kind of zoned out. I was like, I've never sat in a meeting and said what I wanted. People would call you for a meeting, let's have a chat, and I'd go and meet you, but I never said what I wanted. And I said, that's it. All right, I'm gonna do a meeting, but I'm gonna say what I want, and I'm gonna make it mutually beneficial. So I said to Rich, you can't come. There was these two girls that got funding, and they used to help us out with clothing a bit. And I said to them, look, can you just say you're our assistants? Can we say this is our office? Yeah. And they were like, cool. I said, look, just please don't talk much. And I said, I'm only gonna play 3 songs. So they're gonna be very focused on where I think the kind of opportunity is. Yeah. So again, I knew everyone, so I called Alec Twin B, and he came late, 2 hours late, but he came with Jamal. Oh, Jamal, SBTV Jamal. Yeah. So he came with Jamal, but I knew Jamal. It's not like I didn't know everyone. I knew them. Yeah. And I said, look, I ain't gonna waste too much of your time. These are the. Were you friends with Alec before that? Yeah, I knew him. I'd gone Malia and seen him there. I knew him from BBC, but I knew him from there. Yeah. And then when he first started Levels, he met up with me to tell me what publishing was. Yeah. And then I had a show once. I done a live band show with Getz, Bashi and Wretch, and he presented it for me. Amazing. But I never asked him for anything. So then I went to him and said, look, this is where the market is, this is where I think the timing is. These are these 3 records that I feel like show now Wretch's time to actually have singles and to become a kind of full-fledged artist having hits. And at the end of it, he goes, I want to offer you a deal. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I want to offer you a deal. I'm just doing this deal with Ministry. I want to offer you a deal. And I was just shocked. I just couldn't believe that. The first time I sat there and was like presented. And actually told him what you wanted or what your vision was. He offered you something. Well, he offered it verbally. We didn't. Now working with there. So what happened was, then we started working. He started putting in sessions. Okay. Because he was still negotiating his deal at Ministry of Sound. So we started putting in sessions. Now, none of those 3 demos that I played, we ended up using. But what it showed him is that we had the intention to want to make records. And you were focused. So he started doing that, and then one day he came with an instrumental, which ended up being Tractor, and Wretch wrote many of verse on that. Big instrumental, bro. And then the moment he wrote that record, a week later, we had an offer in our inbox from Ministry, which was like a single with an album option. So ultimately, they had their situation where they were negotiating, but he needed a single to justify doing a deal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, but at that time, I didn't know. I was sometimes getting frustrated and said, I'm still in my office. I'm telling everyone telling everyone I'm about to leave. And they see me in the staff room laughing at me, being like, 2 months later, you're still here. Do you know what I mean?
It's the big man in the music business, still there.
And I remember one of my friends said to me when I handed him a notice, he's like, if it doesn't work out, you coming back? And I was like, I'm never coming back. I have to work. I have to. There's no way around it.
No choice.
And then we started obviously going through like the planning stages of meeting a team, and then
how do you find once you've got like you've gone from like doing it on your own, working one job to sort of allow you to do this rec stuff? How did you find the transition of doing it on your own into going into a team of people that are focused on your project?
I was ready, man, because I'd done it by myself.
Okay.
I'd had freelance promo teams myself. I'd managed that. I'd project managed it.
So you were ready.
So
okay.
now I was ready, and obviously, of course, you have those things that the team don't understand that you could be ready. But I earned their respect very quickly because I'd done it.
Yeah.
I'd done it, and the same people that you're saying you can call, I can call them because I've worked with them. I've done, I've got full-fledged relationships. Right, we've done BBC Introduction, we've done Glastonbury, we've done it, and I remember like there'll be sometimes when I'd write out these long, detailed emails and say like, why isn't this done? What's this done? And I think like Nicola Spokes really kind of respected, like she really respected, and she really kind of, she was great at kind of articulating her views and all the rest. So. And there was one time when we were supposed to release the record, I think, say in August.
Yeah.
And they moved the release date to January.
January?
And you can imagine, like, this single deal was £15,000. And if we've done that deal, say, in March.
Yeah.
My goodness, how am I surviving? My £3,750. How am I surviving all that time? That's all I could think about. I was like, oh my goodness. And I remember like...
To a big label, it's like, you know, they've got a big schedule, they've got loads of other stuff to do in between, so it's nothing to them. But if you're an artist and you're a manager and you're dependent on that money to survive, bro, it's a lot.
You imagine? And then also, I got it now, you understand, because obviously at that stage, from November onward, the Christmas playlist locked in.
Yeah.
So their thing was like, it's going to get there. And then if we can lock in the playlist, I don't know if it was coming out of Christmas, then it holds for longer.
Yeah.
So
sweet spot where they're somewhere.
Yeah, at that stage I was just like, I just had to trust the process and embrace the pain. And then I remember seeing Pro Green in a shop, and he was like, "Do you want to come and tour?" So I had to like, because it was a single deal, there's no tour support, so I had to put together a proposal to say that we rented the car and I had to drive it. So
did they give you tour support or not?
Yeah, but they didn't have to really give much, because I said, look, we're going to rent a car, all I need is petrol money, and I will drive it myself, and I will DJ the show, which I did.
So you made it painless for the labels.
Always.
So they give you no reason for them to say no.
Even to this day, I still have that kind of thing mentality when I approach business, right? And then the Tiny tour, same thing, kind of similar thing. And we just made the most with what little we had.
Yeah.
And when that record went in and ended up charting at 5, we was on
which record was this?
Chapter.
Yeah.
We was just kind of on the runway. So
there was a red hot record. I remember because there's another kid who featured on it. Or was L. That off the back of that, his stock went straight up too because of the Wretch stuff. And I remember everyone trying to get in with him, and because everyone thought he had the magic sauce because of that one song that you had that was flying.
Yeah.
Which was incredible.
Yeah, it was an amazing time, but all it done was stoke the fire to me. It was like, I love this game, and I ain't ever leaving.
Okay, so you had Tractor, which everyone thought, okay, big song. And what happened next?
So we had, I think Dollimore wanted to sample Stone Roses.
And Dollimore was the head of Ministry of Sound.
Dave Dollimore, Ministry. And so went to Future Cart, who did, and we asked Example, who was on the label, to lay a hook. And Example had a strong
Future
tie to
Cart were
hip-hop.
responsible for all the Lily Allen stuff.
There you go. And it was only in Finsbury Park, so we couldn't believe it, because we were from Seven Sisters, and these guys are just in Finsbury Park, and we were like this. We were being introduced to a world that we didn't know existed. Yeah,
people are having big pop hits that are crossing over the waters and everything. They're crazy.
Yeah, so we had that record in our back pocket, but we kept trying to find the kind of conduit between Tractor and another song to get there.
Yeah.
We just couldn't find it.
Like a bridging song.
We couldn't find it. We just couldn't find it. We just couldn't. So in the end, I remember at the video, we were so sad. We were like, oh, this is ruining our cred, this record. Because we didn't realise how credible...
Which song is this, sorry?
Unorthodox.
Oh, Unorthodox.
We didn't realise how credible Stone Roses were. So we were just like, this is just pop. Oh my gosh. But
so you sampled Stone Roses, but you didn't realise how culturally important they were to their audience, and how impactful a song like that would be.
Yeah, and midweek it was number 1, but ended up being number 2.
Jeez,
and
still, I mean, out of all the songs in the whole of Great Britain at that time, to be even the conversation around being in the top 10 is mad. It's just wow.
I know. But you know when you're in it,
I know.
Yeah, like, and then the next record we had a couple of records and the label pushing for one record, and I just feel I'm not feeling it. And I remember going to play it to Bath.
Yeah.
I went and played the record to Colin, and they both said, you got to go with this Don't Go record. And I said, that's what I've been saying. And I remember driving with Rex, and I said to him, this other record, if we're going to go out, because at that stage, if you have a flop,
yeah,
radio lose confidence in you, you could be done.
Yeah.
So I was like, if we're
so brutal, no streaming, nothing to prop you up. It's like your little tunnel to be in, and if you don't have a moment with it, the moment your stock starts to go low, these guys are out of here.
Yeah. So I was just like, if we're gonna go out, let's go out with a record that we're proud of.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're gonna go with this Don't Roll record. So that was the first time I really put my foot down, and I was like, we're not releasing any other record but this record. And this is why.
And because it paid off, how were the label with you after that?
It was number 1. And listen, all those conversations are all forgotten at the time, isn't it? Yeah, but you could do things those days that you couldn't do today. We had maybe 15 university shows at their end of year thing where they got thousands of people.
Yeah.
And we were promoting that record for like 3-4 months. People were reacting to that record, and you didn't have to worry back then about it really going online and it like. Yeah.
The shows lined up anyway. You basically money's in the bank.
Yeah, but I mean, like Josh would come out and perform it. People were excited about the record was being received well. Whereas if you've done that nowadays, I mean, actually, it's gone back to where you can do that, and you get like all these.
There's a period where it hasn't been that. Yeah, but now I think we're going back to that.
But yeah, and that we knew there was something in there. And to be fair, once they started to see Shazammed and the momentum on it,
which is that's really interesting because Shazam was the first real data that we all had to show a genuine public interest. Because before radio, because the way radio tests and stuff, and it's different. It's very hard to be specific around the songs. Whereas Shazam was like people have to put their phone up and actually have an interest. And I remember getting those data and being in the top 30 on Shazam around that time was like, right, we're off, we're in, we're like, or even top 100.
Yeah, we'd be like number 2, number 1, but we'd be like 80 in the airplay charts. Yeah. And our frustration would be we'd go to all these regional radio stations, and they'll be asking for versions without the rapper on and all that.
Oh yeah, just to say, oh wow, okay.
And we used to be like, no, we can't do it. How can you do that? But yeah, they just like
a lot of people don't understand that. Just that's a really good point. I just want to jump on it. The sort of doing radio edits, especially if you're a rapper. Because obviously, if a song has momentum and the label are seeing it's charting, that means there's a genuine public interest. A lot of the radio stations now are nationalised, so one playlist goes out throughout the whole country. But back then, all the radio stations were segmented to regions. So we used to call it ILR tours. So Capital in Nottingham and Capital in Birmingham will be playing different playlists. And a lot of them had autonomy to play whatever. So in order for it to sort of hit the public without any sort of problems, a lot of the stations really, really focused on melody over rap. So if you're a rapper having a hit and it's your name on the song, and you got some guy you got featured on the chorus, and they're asking you to take your parts out and just play his, even though it's your song, that feels not good.
Yeah. It's tough, man. But ultimately, we were doing better than what we should have done. Yeah. Because ultimately, we were on the independent record label first and foremost, because Ministry of Sound were an independent record company. Secondly, and
also, Ministry of Sound was traditionally a dance label, so for someone in rap to be doing well and doing pretty much dance numbers, which is I'm sure from their perspective that must have been incredible.
Yeah, happy days. It was happy days, and then we ended up having a gold album, and it was great. But and I just thought that's what the business is, isn't it? You get signed, you put records out, and then you're successful, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Well, no. So yeah, but that was amazing time. We'd been working a long time before then, and we've been working a long time after that as well. So it's been an amazing ride to the point where now he's going to be the first rapper to headline the National Theatre, which sold out in a day, and that's going to be incredible.
I think he's a national treasure. Like he genuinely is. There isn't anyone who loves rap or into rap that doesn't acknowledge what Wretch has done for the scene. And obviously, again, a lot of people don't understand your relationship and that you've been behind that for this amount of time. So just moving on a little bit as well. There was I remember a period of time, and you can give me more context around it, where you had like you were so hot. You had Jacob Banks, you had George the Poet, you had Knox Brown, all bubbling around at a similar sort of time. You seem to have sort of unearthed like incredible, like what I felt was global talent, especially from black music. That wasn't just rap, that was vocal stuff. Can you talk to me about that period of time? And every time I spoke to like Colin or everyone, like, no, Zeon done another big deal. What the hell? How is he doing this? Every 2 weeks, you seem to be like going from place to place. How were you able to repeat offend in the nicest way possible around that period?
Do you know what? I think what happened was after the success of the Wretch album, I was energized and I was like, okay, if I was a business looking at me, I'm just managing my friend.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm better than that. Like I'm not going to be kind of put into that box. So I need to go and find more talent. So I started looking around, and I mean, I met a girl called Kyra, and it didn't work out for her. But
was she an artist?
An artist, a singer, very great voice, pretty girl. And I thought, those are the easiest to do, though. But anyway, going around with her put me on a circuit that I wasn't on because I'd been doing the Wretch stuff. And I remember coming across George, and George was in a room like this doing poetry, and I just couldn't believe it. He was speaking to like my soul, and I didn't know much about him. And I gave him my cards because we had cards back then, and he didn't call. And then I'd done a bit of research and saw that he went to Cambridge, and I thought, oh my goodness, he's speaking about these kind of social, political issues, and he goes Cambridge. He's from Northwest London, South Hampshire State. The kind of synergy of all that for me is just like waiting to erupt. And I went to another show of him, and I noticed that there was a young lady there who was his partner at the time, and I cornered her and was like, make sure he calls me, just make sure.
Yeah.
And I went to see him outside his parents' house, and he was sort of worried because he goes, at Cambridge you're not supposed to have a part-time job. They don't know about this. They're going to frown on it, and I don't want to get kicked out of university. Yeah. And so I kind of heard that.
You have to respect it.
But I said that we still got to do this, and I said, and he started uploading these videos to Link Up TV because Rashid's from the same area as him, so they had a relationship.
Okay. Rashid is the guy who founded Link Up TV.
Yeah, and they're both Ugandan. So
amazing.
And it started to kind of pick up speed. So I said to him, how many tickets do you think you could sell? And he goes, I think he said, can you do 100? He goes, yeah. I said, all right, cool. I'm going to find you the kind of most respected and renowned venue that we can do that and invite people to, and we're going to make a moment out of this. So I started calling around, and I discovered that there was a room in Robert Hall called Elgar Room.
In Royal Albert Hall?
Yeah, oh, wow. Yeah. So it was like, say it's
how did you even find that out?
Just Googling, messaging, calling around. Because once you're energized through the night, I'll be messaging. And then I was like, all right, cool. So then I started calling people, being like, who's got an in to this place? Because it wasn't like now it's LinkedIn. Yeah. I was like, and Zubin, who was a lawyer at the time, a trainee lawyer, called me and goes, one of my one of my friends from uni works at Robert Hall. I'll get you a meeting. So I was like, that's all I need. So I went there and I looked them in the face and I said, you want young black kids in here and we want the venue. So what do we do?
Okay.
And I was like, straight, like, because I get it. Like, I understand these things. They get funding, they got to show diversity. And I just said it, I was like, you want young kids, black kids in here from inner city areas, and we need the venue because I want to show that he's a poet, but and this venue kind of solidifies what he does.
Yeah, culturally and everything, it's a real sort of moment. Even just to be able to say, my poet is performing at the Royal Albert Hall.
No one can check the room.
Say what room it's in. Yeah, love that.
And then I'm like, great, let's do it. And they gave us the room. I invited like Tiny Temper K, Remedy Sandy, Naughty Boy. I think Wretch presented it. And we've got a double page spread in The Guardian.
Oh, wow.
And then suddenly, he's on the front page of Cambridge University's website and all the rest, and they're heralding the guy, and we're going to...
We always loved him. You can always do the artistry. Yeah, it's great. Everything's fine now.
And we started going around the world. We were doing all these after dinner speeches for banks and all these institutions in Monaco and all... Oh, we was having a fantastic life.
So at that point, do you have an agent doing that? Do you call people just reaching out to him?
People are reaching out to us, but I would then... I've worked with Creators Husa from when he was just moved to primary. So we was after Pro Green was his first client from this area.
Okay.
So I was just
Craig D'Souza is, for those who don't know, he's an amazing booking agent who does some of the biggest stars in the business. But yeah.
Yeah. So we done that, and then at the same time, I'd come across Jacob Banks. He got sent to me, and when he came to me, he had this one record that should have been a hit. We never put it out. And he goes, oh, look. And I brought him to Richard Antwi. He's passed now. He was who co-founded Levels.
Yeah.
And
he was a legendary
Oxford.
character in our business.
And he goes, guys, I need to tell you about my production team. And I was like, yeah, look, we'll find our people. No, seriously. And when he started playing records, I said, I'm coming to Birmingham tomorrow.
Jacob?
Yeah, he showed me Knox Brown and all the writing guys, because they had been writing for him.
Ah, okay. So Jacob's from Birmingham?
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. He was going uni at Coventry, and he's from Birmingham, and he'd been working with Knox, and he showed me Knox.
Ah, okay.
And Knox had been surviving by putting up Gumtree ads saying, I'll make you a beat. And it was so it just caused issues in the back end with one particular record, because you're telling people I'll come to my house and I'll make you a song for 200 quid because you're trying to pay your bills. But who owns that song? What does it look like?
Yeah, so they not understanding how the rights work with owning copyright.
Yeah.
So he just tried to literally hand to mouth, making money to feed his family.
I'll tell you where that caused an issue one day is when we sold the song to Jay-Z, and it was an existing song. Oh my goodness!
So hold on, back up. So you sold a song so you got Jacob Banks, does he get signed?
He gets signed to Atlantic, and he does publishing with Warner Chappell.
So these are big deals. These are we heard they were big deals when you were doing them.
I don't know if they were big, but George signs to Island, but he doesn't want to do a publishing deal, so does an admin deal with ATV. Knox signs a publishing deal with Warner's, and then does a deal with EMI. Jade, who was his partner at the time, was a writer. She done the deal with Warner Chappell as well. So this is with Big John in America.
Yeah. So the deals you did on the publishing side were American deals.
Yeah. Which
is obviously we never know if you do it. You signed out into America. Obviously, it's bigger budgets, but more so it's bigger clout. Access.
And they moved him over there straight away.
They relocated him.
They relocated him. They would do 3 months at a time. They wanted him out there.
Yeah.
And then we started working with a contemporary artist as well called Funny Tommy. He was doing his mad drawings. Rihanna was buying his pictures, and I used the Royal Albert Hall contact to then do an exhibition in the Royal Albert Hall. So they gave us the halls for a week and took down all their pictures.
So you did a Knox Brown exhibition?
Funny Tommy, the contemporary artist. Okay. And they let him do the exhibition. They took down all their pictures, and they did an exhibition in all the halls of Royal Albert Hall. It was mad,
wow.
Yeah. I had no life, but then.
So how many clients do you have at the time? You were
at least 6, 7.
At least 6, and do you have someone working for you?
My partner at the time was doing my admin, and then some of them was Cole, but it was all just up here. I was just balancing plates. Obviously now I'm older, I realised that delegation, having partners. At the time it was just me. My phone was crazy. I think Matthew Bridgman that does R&B slow jams was working for me for a period of time, but I was just glad at it.
Wow, I mean, I remember the time, but I just remember regularly hearing you've done a deal here, you've done a deal there. It was crazy. So you've done all that. You sort of established yourself in the business. You've had multiple clients. I've had multiple deals. And then how do you transition over to Polydor? How did that Polydor thing happen?
So 30, it was just weird because you negotiate a deal and whatever, and it just worked out that 3 of the deals were done in 3 days in a row. Not what planned, it just happened. As
in you signed them 3 in a row, even though they've been coming for a month or 2.
You know how it goes.
I remember that week. I remember thinking, we were all just nah, he's done another one. Nah, he's done another one. It felt really quick and really sort of It
wasn't strategic, it was just, it's they're going for terms. Okay, we're there now, fine. And on the last one, Rich phoned me, was you have to lock in this deal on the last day, come on, because it's 3 in a row. But I never cared about it because I was very much trying to surface the talent, right? And then 30 called me because in all these discussions, all these deals, I'd never spoken to Polydor.
Yeah, just so you know, 30 was the president of Polydor Records at this time. He's a legendary character who signed Dido and a bunch of other incredible artists. But yeah, so he called you.
So he called me, I met him, I didn't know what it was about, and he was like, why don't you come over here, A&R here? I'll find you an office. And I said, I don't like jobs. It doesn't work for me. I don't want to do that. And he goes, all right, cool. What about a consultancy? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. Let me go and speak to. Because at that time, I started to spend a bit more time with Roger Ames. Okay. So Roger Ames is
legend. Yeah, tell us about Roger Ames.
Roger Ames is a legend. He used to run a company called, was it Polygram?
And London Records.
London Records, and he sold it for an astronomical amount of money. He's and he really helped out Black Butter, and he had this dream of having all the big management companies under one roof. So I was trialing it, and I was in the same office at that time as Black Butter, as Scott, who managed Mick Jagger and all that.
Wow.
As the guys that got the X Factor contract, as Sam Eldridge.
Oh, yeah. And you guys who managed Plan B and Noel Gallagher
on Portobello Road. It was Stella McCartney's ex-office. I was there, so I was in amongst it. So but we didn't work together. We were just even more competitive. So it wasn't like, oh, I've got these projects. What producers you got?
So he tried to build a family, and everyone trying to fucking murder each other, left, right, and centre.
So then I said to him at the end, I'm not doing this because it's not working. He goes, it's not working for me either, so it's fine. But I remember him saying, after 70 grand. I said, what? I said, what? No contracted hours. And I think they gave me 50. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? They gave that a year. I was like, no contracted hours. This is what these A&Rs are getting. I couldn't believe it. No contracted
hours. Yeah. You'd be surprised. Some of the consultancies are
back then, this is like 2011, 12. I thought it was free money because I thought I'm working on all these projects anyway. I've got a network, and I was just obliged to come to one A&R meeting. And I did. And I did it for a while. But when time is a thing, because then some artists get frustrated because you haven't got the time.
Yeah.
And when I started to I lost George, Jacob was still 5, but you started to get more reliant upon the money because, as you know, that our business is going through waves of genres, and suddenly it's like, hold on, I actually require this money now to even pay admin stuff that I'm using now. So
so you got that steady income coming in on the consultancy, and the other stuff comes in troughs, and you get a bit of cash, you don't, then you got to chop it all up, you got to give, and you get a commission on the cash that you get, so you've then got to go. It's just a complicated process. So I imagine the consultancy was just steady stuff, especially if you have children or anything else.
I remember after the first year, say maybe 14 months had passed, and these contracts are supposed to get renewed every 12 months, right? And Ben Mortimer, who was head of A&R at the time, phoned me. I was like, your contract's run out. I said, oh no, I had no idea. And he's like, we've got to renew that. And I was like, but I didn't have a win to ask for anything more, so I was just happy it was still going.
It's so funny because in A&R, I spoke about this before and other stuff about sort of the moment of negotiating with having someone in your pocket to negotiate with. Because sometimes it's why you've got to be good to people, or at least be not a problem, the best case scenario. Because at any point when these contracts are running out, they can just go, okay, cool, cheers, sorry we've overran, goodbye. Or they can go, let's continue. I should have renewed this 2 weeks ago, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, in terms of how Ferdy treated me, and then he brought me around, Lucian, he brought me around to dinners that I shouldn't have been. Yeah, he brought me to dinners with Lucian. He when he was building his studio for his business, he brought me there really early. And when Ben took over with Tom, again, as a consultant, I shouldn't have been going to Christmas parties and been amongst it, but they very much brought me as part of the team, and they taught me a lot, to be honest. And I almost feel like in some respect they taught me a full sense of reality about how record companies operate.
Yeah, totally. I get that. So you're at Polydor. Obviously, that's when eventually, I always knew you anyway, but we ended up collaborating on a project. We both get involved in the pursuit of Steph London, which was an incredible experience, but it was a bumpy ride too. Can you talk a bit about that period and how it was from your perspective?
So Steph went through a number of managers. The first managers to call me about Steph was Sam Adebayo.
Yeah.
So Sam calls me and says, I want to talk to you about this girl called Steph London. Can you come see me? And it was in Bournemouth or something. So I went to the back of a barbershop, and she was in the studio, and we were talking, and then she shushed us and then started to talk to the producer in Dutch, and then started to record a record.
So at this point she's bilingual, and
I couldn't believe it. I was just astounded. And I was impressed. And they had this record called Butterfly, and I brought it to an A&R meeting and I said to Ben, look, hear me out. We've had Nicki Minaj for 10 years here. The country are used to this kind of cultural representation, and now Cardi B's come through.
Oh yeah, we had that first Cardi B moment off Love, and she's just come off Love and Hip Hop.
Yeah. And I was like, the world is ready for someone like this. And he couldn't understand it. He couldn't understand it. And there was a time when, after a while, because the manager, Ratty, he's from my area, so I knew him. He's like my big brother's age, and I was there, Ben was like, I don't want to hear her name again. And I was like, fine. But I've got to maintain this relationship. And then I'd done like a couple of Still Bangle records. I won with him and Mist and Mo Stack and that, just to kind of get them used to working with us. I brought Retch over from Ministry because there was a bit of an issue, and we'd done this amazing album called Black and White, which we charted number 4. And I'd done it on like Next to No Money, and what I used to be good at within that system was just staying out of everyone's way. Yeah. I would kind of get the A&R admin person's time. I'd stay behind budgets and just do it. And Ben would be like, I've seen this on the schedule. Yeah, keep going, because I never.
Yeah, you weren't problematic. You weren't at a place where it's chaos and there's loads going on constantly. Having people there that just take the pain out of stuff are priceless. So you were very smart to sort of recognise.
And then like when Kia came in and he wanted to sign Rams, he was having issues and he lost the deal.
I remember you jumped in.
And he calls, oh, can you go and speak to them? And I would go and speak and be like, look, trust me, I wouldn't say to do it if it wasn't
to the detriment of another friend of ours.
I know, but I done it and then done the deal. So I will always stand clean to say I didn't discover the record, but was I involved in that side?
Yeah, you 100%. I remember you and Kia. I mean, Kia was on job. To be fair to Kia as well, man, he did not let go. He was all over it. But I don't think you would have got across the line without your support.
So yeah, and then when one day Ben was like, I realised that him and Tom wanted to make a statement piece.
I remember it was over Christmas period because they'd come back after Christmas and there was a budget. They knew the budgets were about to be reset, so they needed a big splash on something.
Yeah, and then he was just like, I want to sign Steph London. And I was just looking around and be like, what? And he's like,
I remember looking at you thinking...
And I didn't know what happened. I was like, alright, cool. And I said, look, please don't make me call these guys if you're not going to do it, because it's just going to cause me stress. And he's like, I want to do the deal. And then luckily, you was like, I will back it. Because you were so amazing at navigating the building.
Yeah, my thing was always the sort of making sure the 10th floor and navigating the corporation side of it. So
yeah, that's fantastic, because I never even once had to even see the contract. You were just like, I'm going to do that. So I knew I had a relationship with her, and I had a relationship because I had done stuff like that day when I met her. I had some demos that no one else had, and Austin was with George every 2 days at Spotify, and I went to meet him, and this is when Austin was shocked at the insights that Spotify had and all the rest, and I said to him, listen to this, and he's like, what, Steph London? I said, back this girl. So I had sorted out things like that with YouTube for them and all the rest. Yeah. So it wasn't just my relationship. They couldn't understand why someone does stuff for them without wanting anything.
Yeah, of course.
And there was a day when what shall I say this, when people call artists, normally they buy them like music equipment or something else, and they were like, go and buy Steph something. So I was like, she's not going to want a piano or something, yeah. I went to Louis Vuitton to buy a pair of shoes. So I just thought 500 quid, 600 quid, and I was just talking away, and then Ratty gave me a look, and it went to the till, and it was £2,000. And I paid it on my card, and I was like, there's no way I can go to bed and be like, can I expense this? But when she signed the deal and I got like a little pay increase and my contract got renewed, I was like, well, that's how it goes.
Yeah. Wow. So you went above and beyond just to get it across the line. Yeah. Knowing, and also that's where sort of cultural nuance comes into it as well, because if it was a indie artist or a singer-songwriter, the approach would have had to be totally different. But because of you knowing the sort of culture and the things that would seem quite big for them, that made a real difference.
Yeah, and I think it was just like understanding the trends and of where we are in a certain market. I knew, but then I also knew that having the confidence that she's got can rub some people out the wrong way. Yeah. So when you brought that record, Hurting Me, and he's like, we've got this new record, and I heard it, I said, look, I think that this shows a kind of air of vulnerability that is kind of inexcusable. You can't then say, I don't like this girl, because it's like she's come from a vulnerable place.
Bang on the money. I remember her confidence. I remember her being able, and also the other thing I remember, and bear in mind, some of these records that she had, Fred Again is a big artist now.
Yeah.
What people don't realise is at the very start, Fred Again did all the records for her. So his production, he was always like way ahead of himself in terms of production, but within like black culture, he had a take on her. He did 16 shots. He did a bunch of records that were like.
People always ask, like, they think relationships are so pivotal in this business, because people just think it's some type of like Illuminati or nothing. I met Fred as a kid. Yeah. I met him as a kid and was part of that journey of like being in the studio with him when he was setting up the thing with 30, bringing Retch there, obviously working out how we're going to do the Steph thing, and his brother. So of course, if we've never had a massive falling out and no one's done anything wrong, years down the line, even if we haven't spoken or whatever, there's a direct relationship because we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
So And it was a bit controversial at that time because we wasn't going with a Fred record.
I remember because we signed off of Fred Records, but the moments that we went for, and I think that had a little bit to do with some politics in the background, but we managed to navigate that. And I don't want to sort of pry on that bit, but I just want to sort of at that point, I think your ability to sort of have bring cultural relevance and confidence to that equation was really essential.
I think, as I said to you, I grew up in a household where my mum had a lot of ballads.
Yeah.
Like ballads, which is songs, which is sentiment.
Yeah.
And that becomes just intrinsically within you, which is like, what sticks with me? Why does it stick with me? Why does that note stick with me at this point? Why does that kind of point stick with me? So when I heard Hurting Me, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a dancehall record, but it's a pop record.
Yeah.
But although it's still like rhythmic, it's actually comes from a place of pain.
And
it's like, it marries all the elements that we need.
I remember going through the mix process on that, and it just luckily we had America really engaged. We had QC and Ethiopia over at Motown that was really sort of helpful and were offering assistance on it. But the Americans from the jump were really all over it, and we knew we had the opportunity to do something massive. And she's got on. She's had a great success.
I'm so
she's still
proud of her because ultimately it's like her driving that has pushed her to where she is today, and I know that if me and you called her today,
she picks up. I've called her. I've called her and she'll reach out to me. She's open studio. She's like on job. She's brilliant, and she's always. And it says a lot. I think when we work with these artists, when they know that you sort of are there for them and you're doing good by them, they'll always be respectful and loop back. I want to sort of move on a little bit because I think one of the biggest, most important things in the country right now, I'd say in the world right now, is something that you've been an integral part of and pulled together is DJ AG. This guy is like, I just think he's totally changed what the way you promote yourself within black culture in the last sort of year. And I want to sort of talk to you about how you found him and how the hell has it got so big?
So September the 4th is my birthday. About a week before, I was on my Instagram and I saw DJ AG on the decks in Brixton and Daddy Freddie come on. And I was just fascinated by that story. But hold on, how can you be so good, but life has taken its toll on you? So I was researching about Daddy Freddie, seeing about his background, about he was the world record holder for the fastest MC, and then I would see maybe someone that's got substance abuse dancing, and it really kind of pulled out my kind of emotion of like seeing the talent in someone in spite of life challenges. And then one day I just like clicked. I was like, this is pirate radio. This is pirate radio with a visual element.
Wow.
2 days later, I was like, this is pirate radio. This is pirate radio. And I looked at this generation and I thought, everything's been too polished for them. Everything. Styling, editors, fashion. People have become, look at me culture. It's gone too far to the point where people now are going to want authentic stories and that. And he's already out there and doing it. So on September the 4th, I messaged him. He came to my house within an hour.
Last year?
Yep.
Wow, okay.
Within an hour.
Within an hour, he came to your house and he didn't know you?
Didn't know me, nothing. He came to my house within an hour, sat on my sofa, and I spoke to him. I was like, look, what is it you want to do? And he's like, telling me about his dream, and I said, you're not thinking big enough. For me, normally if I see something and it kind of pulls an emotion for me and I want to do it, I don't know what happens, but amazing things happen. And for me, I think every artist is going to want to come on your platform. I think people are going to want to do this around the world. I think I said, like, I don't really care about your TikTok income. For me, the platform's going to become so powerful that brands are going to want to work with you because of the scope of it. And he was like, if you think you can do that, go and do it then. And I was like, don't you want to go and meet other people and that? He's like, no. You do it.
Wow.
And then so I said, look, cool, send me the stats. Because he had like 280,000 followers on TikTok.
Which is massive. And he had that's still huge
I couldn't believe it.
Unknown.
And he had like 25,000 on Instagram. But he was shocked because I went up 5,000 on this. And then what he said to me was like, just make sure you form a team. Because I would be messaging him saying, look, I'm putting together this deck. I've been up to 4 a.m. And he's like, look, you're smart. Blue sky thinking. Form a team. And then you need to give yourself space in your life.
What gave him the foresight to go to see that you should have done that? What is his background?
Because he had worked in corporate, and he goes that when he managed people, he had an issue with delegation, and his manager would pull him aside and say, you need to delegate because you need to give yourself freedom of ideas and thought. So he would just be like, we need to hire. And then I had Joe King, who had been working around me, but we never had an act of success, right? So he was just doing it, but in hope of something coming. And I was like, you're going to be head of A&R. And he was like, oh, why are they going to be manager? And I was like, you don't want to be manager of this, just trust me. It's going to be pain. But head of A&R is perfect because it's going to give you direct relationship with all the artists, right? And all their teams. And I had another guy around me, which I tried to get him to do digital, and he just
didn't quite work out.
Do it. He had a girl around him called Buffy, who now like set up her own company, Buffy Media, who we work with, and she went everywhere with him. And a couple of weeks after, I'd met Fiona Ramsey, and I was like to her, "Oh look, I've met this kid," because we had worked
Fiona,
together.
did she still Luik?
Yes, so Fiona, I knew her from there. She worked at Stoke PR at the same time.
Stoke PR.
So we actually had initiatives with Stoke PR, so I knew her, and we had gone to New York for a Rakim piece once. And then in one of my last jobs, we was in an office together. So we had a relationship at that point, it was like a friendship. And she was like, you know what, I'm at a stage in life where I want to do what I enjoy. Keep me up to date with that. I said, sure.
Okay.
And then maybe like 6 weeks in, my inbox was just on fire because it was just like so much inquiries. My kids go to the same school as Jamie, and I'd seen him. And I said, hey, do you think you lot would go on this? And I sent it to him, and I saw him, and he's like, me and Skepta's going to do it. And I was like, bro, like, I don't need people like chatting rubbish to me. He's like, I'm doing this,
No, but
bro.
Jamie's the type of person where you probably, if he says it, you're going to do it.
He goes, look, I went primary school with this boy, I'm doing it.
Oh, you went primary school with him? Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
And then that weekend, Skepta DM'd me and was like, what day should we do? And I was like, what? And then he goes, oh, 5 o'clock. So I like came out the train station 5:10 thinking they're going to be late. He was already on the mic.
Wait, King's Cross?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then that day on, from then on, where Guardian covered, a massive piece was when Elijah posted that he's the most important DJ in the UK. But even during that process, things started happening, but I said to him and the team, I said, firstly, if it's just us around the table next year, we failed. Secondly, the UK is too small a market to keep doing what we do because people become bored. So we've got to look at where the numbers are, where the emerging markets are of culture, and go. And I said, obviously Jamaica's small, but it's powerful because this culture speaks to the world.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, let's go. And I was like, oh, this money. And he goes, I can see what you're doing. You don't want to spend the money, I don't want to spend the money. But he's like, I'm telling you, let's just do it. And we spent about, in the end, it was about £30,000. Go in, sort out, please, all the other stuff. But the crowds that came to perform were unreal. And then
how do they know you're coming? What do you do? Do they put advertise on radio? Do you put a post out? How do people go?
Put on Instagram.
You just put on Instagram.
Socials. Listen, I didn't know so many people make music. I thought there's people that sing and rap. I didn't realise in today's generation there's so much people that actually have record music.
Oh, okay.
That don't have a path to be heard.
Yeah. And
the power of the platform exists for that. And now we're at a stage where, as I said, we're going around the world. We went to Jamaica, which was like the biggest art. We got Beres Hammond on that first trip, which you wouldn't get.
Beres Hammond, I grew up on Beres Hammond, legendary reggae artist, like incredible.
On the last trip, we got Beanie Man, Bounty Killer, Sanchez. We went at New York, and the crowds that were in New York was unbelievable. We had like Marshall Montana, Alison Hines. Then we had like huge artists every day, which like by the end we got to. He done the pre-party for the Caribbean Music Awards on the red carpet with Elephant Man, all the rest. DJ Khaled done the interviews. What it's turned into is unbelievable. He's now got 1.7 million followers on TikTok. He's got about 780,000. We're just about to get 100,000 on YouTube. Impressions are up to 150 million a month. It's like some of the like partnerships we've done, like from Garnier to Thing, and these are like substantial things, and we haven't even scratched the surface. We've got a festival next year.
Yeah, I keep seeing the advert for the festival on the YouTube.
We've got a festival next year. We're going. By the time this comes out, we'll be in Kenya. We're going to Dubai.
Will Smith.
Yeah, we had Will Smith.
I seen Burner Boy.
Yeah.
Burner Boy. You've had some like it's unreal the scale of it. I mean,
by the time this comes out, we'll have clips that are doing it. We've got we had Sweetie, we had Lato. We could have got Cardi B if we stayed in New York longer this week. Like it's a serious thing, and do you know what? We haven't even started because now we're getting people from the theatre. So like there's a theatre show called Harder We Come, and their normal revenue for the week's like 14,000. them doing one appearance on the show increased it to 22,000 that particular week.
Wow.
We have like break dancers that come. We now we're just kind of pushing to veer into sports, so hopefully we can get the boxers performing on there. Hopefully, yeah. So the goal is to kind of develop the platform to the point where either we have other productions on the platform, or there's people that submit. But today we're not, like, we went Birmingham last week and it was like crazy. Miss Calm, there was about 400 or 500 people just there, and we're going Nottingham tonight. And there was 150,000 likes on TikTok alone for that video that he's going.
Christ.
There's over 2,000 comments that he's going to Nottingham tonight.
Wow.
Because he is speaking to a community and of people that don't have a chance to be heard.
Yeah, the power of it. And also I think, I mean, for me, just from looking from the outside in, because of his temperament, because there's nothing egotistical about him. It feels like the purest sort of intentions around what he's doing. Even how he talks to people. I think there was some bit of friction at one of the shows in London. It might have been Harleston or somewhere. And I think you guys came back the next day.
So what happened was, that particular day, the week prior, he was in Cannes with Harbourview. So Harbourview is run by a lady, and it's black owned, but they are VC.
Yeah.
She took him to there. She was on the same boat with like Mary J. Blige, Mahalo, all the rest. That day he landed back. Big Zeke's had a giveaway in Harleston. He went. Now that thing happened across the road, but he was like, right, we want to go back because ultimately, like, this is our community, and far too often the narrative would have been carried and interpreted by a kind of bigger corporation. Whereas here, he can articulate it, explain it, and then
which is the beauty of it, because a lot of people in the corporation would have ran off and gone, okay, no, we're not doing that. You're ruined. The brand's going to be ruined. We're not going to make any money. Let's stop. Let's not take any risk. But I remember being in a WhatsApp group with you, and we're having a bit of banter like, "Raw, you were Harleston, yeah, it's going off." And then we assumed you wouldn't go back, and you came back immediately. You were like, "No, we're going back tomorrow. We'll do it again." Because you're like, this is what it's about. It's about sort of supporting community. It's about not being fazed by something that had nothing to do with what you're trying to achieve, and going back in there and showing the world that it's actually, these people are worth digging in on. Like, it's not worth stepping away.
We have security, and we do all the relevant risk management, all the rest. There's an amazing company called like ResponseTech that do TFL. They do stadiums that we use.
Yeah.
We work with a lot of councils now, so we're doing like, we're talking to Hackney. That's probably going to happen. We're talking to Islington, like Haringey. Obviously now we're going back to doing the regions, and our goal is to probably do only 3 months in the UK next year. We're going to go all around the world to grow the audience, to grow the thing. Like, looking forward to going. It's World Cup here as well, so
of course,
America, so that's a big opportunity. And we'll just keep pushing.
Amazing. Listen, I think you're doing incredible work, and I think the whole point of these interviews, I say it over and over, is just to inspire young people to sort of understand the type of characters that do well in our business and the challenges that they have.
And sorry, one last thing as well.
Go ahead.
We're launching, aside from the festival, we're launching like a foundation which will be launched by the time this starts, and we'll be able to give grants to grassroots communities and people up and down the country as well.
Amazing.
And that'll be substantial amounts as well. So it's bigger than what we're doing. Like it's not a mixtape where he's producing, but we'll get kind of productions from people all around the country. We'll feature people and showcase them. So we really just want to kind of lend a hand to the communities up and down the country and give them kind of a leading hand to kind of hopefully reach their potential. I
love it. I think it's so important. I think there's going to be a whole generation of successful artists that got a shot off the back of this situation and what you guys are building. So thank you. Like I said before, this is about sort of encouraging new executives to get into the business and to allow them to sort of see some of the challenges. I just wanted to ask some advice from you for young people, and we sort of finish off every podcast with 2 questions. We ask one thing that sort of has changed in the business since you've been in it, and something that hasn't. But just to elaborate on that as well, I've just sort of, do you have any advice for young executives that are trying to get into the business at the moment?
Yeah, my number one advice is to be driven by the right things. Because if you're driven for it because you love the art and you love the craft, you'll put in your 10,000 hours and that will get noticed.
Yeah.
But if you're driven by getting kind of adulation from others, then you'll be driven by what you're posting on social media, but that's not a real thing.
Okay.
So I think like hard work never goes unnoticed.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And one thing that's changed in the business since you've been in it, that you've sort of significantly since you've been in.
I would say the speed.
Okay.
The speed is rapid. You know, like now, the amount of emails, WhatsApp messages, social media messages to deal with is just incredible. But that's a good thing as well, because if your phone's not ringing, then that's a huge issue.
Yes, very much so. All right, and then something that's not changed, that still rings out true.
A star's a star, and a great song's a great song.
Okay.
So if you make a great song, it will get heard, and if it's not attached to a star, then someone will try and get it for their artists and whatever else. So I think make a great song, or be around people that make great songs, and you'll be fine.
Amazing. All right, thank you. Listen, I appreciate you coming on, and your work has not gone unnoticed. You're inspiring people up and down the country. This DJ AG run is crazy, but I know you've got other stuff going on. And I love the fact that you've built out a whole economy out of something that was started off so small. So yeah, thank you for coming on again. I appreciate you, and mad love.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Zeon. That was so good.
Was it
Okay.
good? Is that all right?
Yeah.
I love that. I enjoyed
Everything
it.
went so well.
I really enjoyed the conversation. This is really good, especially very at the start about your family.
Yeah.
And some stuff I find out about my friends on the